The weather is awful. It's terrible. And I've just made another cup of tea, but it's too hot, so I'm just going to let it soak. And we're using the Yorkshire Proper Strong. Only because the gold wasn't available. And really, there's not that much difference between it, if you know what I mean. You just might add a tiny bit more milk with this, but I always use light milk in tea anyway. Right, so this is about the Plymouth. And the Plymouth's one of these things where it's sat for 5 years. I've had it for 5 years. I bought it because it was there. I've always liked them. It's probably my favourite American car. Them and Galaxies. So I decided to buy the thing and semi-restored, you know the story. It's sat for 5 years here and now we're onto it. Yeah. So a lot of people have said, you know, when are you going to get to the Plymouth? I got to it when I was ready to, which is now. Now, I've changed all their steel brake lines. So they were terrible. I cut the lengths of Bundy tube 316 stuff to get that all flared, double flared and fitted out with new fittings and all this. Bent them into shape, stuck them in the car. As I'm looking around it, the bodywork's beautiful, as we've said. Some of the fit and finish isn't. Or the finish is, but the fit isn't. So I decided the tail shaft needs to come out. It's got like it looks like a CV joint, it's a slip joint at the front. The handbrake on that car is like a drum brake on the back of the gearbox. And there's a slip joint. And the slip joint has a cracked boot. I'm just going to go and find some sort of CV boot that's going to fit. And while I got the shaft out, I'm going to stick unis in it because they're old. But the rear uni it has a particular type of cap on it. So there's no U-bolts that hold the rear universal to the flange on the diff. It's got these sort of flat universal end caps that secure it to the diff flange, if that makes any sense. So I'm sort of tossing up whether to just give the drive shaft going for entry galley and just say you do it. I'm kind of thinking that. Now with the transmission out, the radiator's off, the front clip's out, engine. It's like throttle cable or throttle linkage I should say, a couple of wires to the generator and the senders and all this sort of stuff. And the selector cable to the transmission, I'm thinking of pulling that out too. And the reason is, I should change the colour, it's the wrong colour, it should be silver. Not sure if I'm going to paint it silver because it'll look fresh to begin with, but it might age quickly, if you know what I mean. I've got it in, or the top of it in an air dry enamel, looks quite good, but I do want to get the bolts done because it looks crap. I hate painted bolts. But not just that, just the Welsh plugs. They've been done very poorly, and they're sweating, and there's white corrosion around them. So I'm going to pop them out. They're the disc type, and they're a pain in the neck to do in the car. So I might as well whip the engine and flip it upside down and do the Welsh plugs. The transmission, I was worried about the cooler. It's got a cooler in the car, which somebody left in there but never fitted it. I don't think the torque plate has the unions on the side anyway. And I looked in the manual, it's got big air ducts in the side of it. And apparently the torque converter's got fins and that's how they cool. I don't think they use a separate cooler, and if they don't, that's all good. I don't mind. And then I can just put it back in. And then, of course, today I was going to do that, and it's very quick to take the engine out. There's no exhaust or anything. And also, I was going to pull the Ford out and get the seats, the remaining seats out of the Plymouth in preparation for fixing up the roof. The boot, the luggage area is supposed to have a pale grey finish in it, almost like primer. And I didn't know what to do in the boot, if you know what I mean. I was going to do it black, but I thought, no, I might do it the pale grey. If it's going to look better with a tartan matte, that'll look good. And under the, also cleaning up around the floor where the brake fluid leaked, and you know. So I want to get it to the point where we've done the mounts and we're building it up slowly, take the wheels off, have a look at the brakes, anything that looks sus or old, pull it off, redo it. So I want the car to be from the ground up properly done, properly assembled, properly finished off, if that makes any sense. So look, there's not much in this, and there's also about 12 minutes of babble at the end of it, which is about my separation. I haven't had the energy to do a lot of YouTube stuff that's, I would say, particularly good, because I've been preoccupied. I've had all sorts of stuff going on. Teaching in pandemics and lockdowns is very difficult to try and get kids to turn up to Teams classes and all this sort of stuff. And you get back to school and there's a heap of assessments to do. You've got to try and get them through as best you can. You've got to try and reinvigorate them to get them interested. That's a lot of work. And you can't just, yeah, it'll be right. You can't do that. So that takes first priority. And of course, my separation's another thing. and that's been swimmingly good. That's been brilliant. And so I talk about that at the end. If you're interested, you can stick around and watch it. It's in the titles, or you can just ditch when you see the back of the Plymouth or the end of the Plymouth. So it's kind of loose ends, this loose end sort of stuff. And then from next time, I reckon we're going to be engine out, engine on the stand, you know, all the wheels apart, the front end apart, all this sort of stuff. I've got to ascertain that there's not just painted shock absorbers there. That would be really annoying. I don't want painted ones, I want good ones, because the bushes were gone. So it's weeding through the whole thing so that we hit we sort it out from the ground up, and then we're building a nice car that's going to be like brand new. That's the idea. So I hope you enjoy. Check this thing out. It's a Savoy two-door club, same as mine, with only 29 miles on the clock. It was stashed, I think, by, was it a guy that had a dealer? It's a factory Jill exhaust car. And there it is there. Is it 31 or 29? I can't remember. It's a Powerflight 301 car. And this is one of the reasons I was thinking about painting my engine the way it should be. It's just a stunning, stunning car. Right, there's a fly hanging around and it's rather annoying. I've pulled this master cylinder apart and it's knackered. It's never done any work though. This was one some years ago. We honed it and put it back together, but it didn't work. So I've got it just like this. I've washed it out so there's no fluid left. And I'm using that as a dummy to fit the 1/4 inch dropper that goes in. I ordered another one, ex-USA, and then realised I might have ordered the wrong one because they said Fury, which I thought 1957 Fury is the same as anything else, but I have a hunch those cars have power assisted brakes. So it might mean changing this piston over, and I don't know. But this leaked out of here anyway. I don't know what to do. These switches, hydraulic brake switches, very similar to the BMC ones, and they're weak, the new ones. I actually went through 2 of these on the MG and had to use a relay. Even the load from 2 21 watt brake lights burn out the contacts in here. This one, as far as I'm aware, still works. And the rest of it's all just in there. All the parts for the master, I'll just keep them sealed up until I get the new ones. So putting a new master in, hopefully he got my message. He just sent off the one I bought without my message, which was, I think I made a mistake, it might be this number instead, which I knew he stocked. But anyway, if I don't get it, I don't get it. These rubber lines look fine. I'm not going to change those. I am changing these ones though. With old Bundy I had them professionally double flare. What's that, left hand rear? What's this one? Left hand rear. So they just have to be bent up to sort of mimic what the old ones were. All new fittings cost very little money. So I can pop that into the front, that's the junction, and that's where your dropper from your master goes in, and then all the others distribute out of there. Do I have to say anything else? Das. Who was an Australian kid from the 1970s that remembers Das? It was a modelling clay. I've still got the paint. Believe it or not. From 1976. Useless information. But let's keep going with the Plymouth. And they sort of go down here. Those clips look like they're wrong. I've got them going down. They sort of go above the outriggers. That looks a little bit too long at the back though. I've got to go and have a look at that. That clip there's wrong too. Oh, that's a pain in the neck. It's too long. I did it the same way, or at least the same length, but I must have routed it a different way. Maybe a little bit more direct. I'm not really sure. But I'm going to take it off and have it shortened. Interestingly, here's another exhaust bracket. And the kicker is, oh, there's another one there. This tail strap's going to have to come out. I think I mentioned that last time. It's just like old and needs unis because it's all, I don't know, it's pretty dirty. I'll be surprised if that's alright. At the front it's got this CV joint looking boot and it's got a split in it, or at least it looks peri, so I'll do that as well. But the thing is though, the thing I'm not too trusting of is it looks to me like the guy has just given the shocks a paint job on the chassis. Maybe not. I need to read that. I can't see what that says down there. But I mean, it's lovely, but something's been changed. It's changed those bump stops, but I don't think it's changed the shocks. I don't know. I really don't know. I just don't know what sort they are. If they were local ones, I need to see where they're made. Still working on this old guy. Got the front brake lines in. That goes under the engine to a nice plated fitting under there. It's fairly neat. Up until there, it sort of kinks and not kinks, but it sort of winds around a little bit in a way I don't like. I don't like any of this stuff. You have to pull the whole front end apart. We've got castellated nuts that don't have lock pins through, or what do you call them, split pins through them. I just really want to pull that apart and have a look. Some rusty fittings. Yeah, I'm not loving it. The split pins aren't even fitted properly. As far as this engine's concerned, I don't know. I'm not loving the way it looks. I'm wondering whether or not I should pull it out. The reason is, there's a couple of things. Let me show you a couple of things that I don't like. I don't like the Welsh plugs. I just don't. I hate them. And, oh, it's a paint run. Looks like a crack from here. There's this funny plug thing there next to the oil filter. And it's been weeping. I don't know what's in there. I don't know what it's supposed to be. But it's got a very, very slight leak. I need to have a look at that. The Welsh plugs are crap. They've got to be redone. And it's just going to be so much easier. The one actually behind the exhaust doesn't look too bad. The one up the front, it's taken all the paint off. Up under there, you can see that. I just think they need to be redone. The other thing I don't know about is the cooler lines. Whether it has them. It came with the transmission cooler, but I want to be able to map out cooler lines. Yeah, I'm not wrapped with it. Oh, that didn't sound too good. It was a box. The thing is, the tail shaft's out, or the tail shaft's coming out. There's no front end. There's no clip on it. It's just really a matter of transmission cross member, a little bit of wiring, and a couple of engine mount bolts, and the thing will come out. Also, it's the wrong colour. And although I repainted the top of it when I got the car, I really don't like painted bolts. I don't know. What do you think? Should I take it out? It'll also let me clean up this chassis a bit more. It's a very nice job, but it looks dirty and horrible. But mainly, things like the shockers, you know, the rubbers are all perished, and I'm not sure if a lot of this stuff has just been repainted or it's actually new. This one here, this shocker there, I mean, the rubber is so munted. It's had it. So, I don't know. The question to ask is, am I going to keep the car? Well, yeah, I am going to keep the car. So it might be, I might regret not pulling it. I've got to wait some time because I've ordered a master for it, and I ordered it from this bloke who ended up having 400,000 negative feedbacks on eBay. So, I don't know. I think I might have ordered the wrong one. But the only brake line that I've got to revisit is down the back. We'll have a look at that now. I had these bumper irons redone. It costs nothing when you've got a bunch of stuff that you're getting looked at. And of course, you know, they're the front ones. It's just so much better, so much cleaner. And you're working with really nice kit. So they've been redone, as well as these bits here. It just makes for a nicer looking job, I suppose. Before I get underneath the car, there's also fittings like this, which need, you know, I hate overspray. It's not going to happen. These cars are normally a sort of a primary colour inside. Oh, is he? You better let him in. So, I might just jam it. Just use enamel, grey enamel, pale grey enamel. I think the easiest thing to do is black. But they're meant to be a pale grey inside. Now, I've also got to move this forward, and I'll split the squabs, pull them out, because it's going to be easy to pull the seat out, and then I want to clean all this. And I think I'll do that next video. Clean all that rust off, surface rust, and anything around where the master cylinder sort of leaked down in that area there. I'm not expecting to find any big problems. That radio needs refitting too, that's sanding out. And I'm going to paint the floors in the boot as well after we've cleaned all that up, and I'll paint that as well and then fit the headlining. That's the next thing. I want it so that, and I've also got to get a window for it, see if these window mechanisms work. I believe this window's alright, but the glass in the driver's door has a crack in it. So down to Stevens, I think it's just flat glass. I've got to pull it out and have a look. And you know, once the headlining's in, we're going to stick windows in and we'll put the carpet in and get bits and pieces done and get it closer to being on the road. But at the moment, I'm a little bit wary about that engine. I think it's a no-brainer. I think I have to pull it out. Let's get onto the back. Sorry, I forgot to do that before. I'm getting sidetracked. I talk too much. Right, so the brake line's in the back there. This one here, up into there, is a little bit long. It was routed in a weird way when I pulled it out. Hang on, I'm just going to try and keep my camera steady. So I might just get a couple of inches taken off. I've got that redone too, that little breather. Let's get a bit better light. But you can see it's a little bit too long, that line there. I want to clean all under here too, it looks terrible. And cleaned up, it'll look just magic. So I might pull that out. And just get a couple of inches taken off it. Hang on, where are we? How much do I need taking off? I might just take it down to here somewhere, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches. And I'll know then, or I'll be able to do that, and then when I get the master, hopefully I can make the thing fit. But, you know, the tail shaft, that uni looks like a specialist one. It's quite a strange looking guy. The cap forms part of the flange as well. So, I think we're going to pull that out. And the engine itself is fairly easy after that, from what I can see. I'm not sure this is a particularly good angle. It's quite difficult. I've gone to New Brakes in Ringwood. That's the guy I go to. Peter Wynn's his name. Really unusual guy in that he knows the old and the new stuff. Whoa. And very unusual to find a guy like that. Most are either old school, and those guys are getting pretty thin on the ground. I'm having trouble reaching this. Or alternatively, if you've got a 2010 Camry, they know it. But if you've got a 57 Plymouth, they've got no idea. This guy is really, really good. I can't even start this because I'm in the wrong spot. Hang on. I'm supposed to be a mechanic and I know what I'm doing. Hang on a minute. Is that going to go in? Yes, that started. And I got him to shorten it because it was the only line I got done that was just too short. Or too long, sorry. Is that cross-threaded? That'd be really shit if it was. Oh no, we're good. We're good, we're good. I think we're good. Yep, we're good. And that now reaches... Oh, just... Let me just get that started. Hang on a minute. I'm just going to have to play around with theirs because I'm probably a fraction too short now. Oh, that's close. Just a moment. I'm just going to turn this off and I'll turn it back on in a minute. Just going through some stuff I had done. Check this out. Can you see it? Dorman quarter. These are just quarter 20s, all coarse threads, but they're actually named. So I'm going to make sure I put those back on. I also got these done. Where did I put them? Hang on. Oh, these. And they're for the boot, and they're kind of spiked. They've got a spiked washer in them. That's for the boot lid. It's beautiful stuff, isn't it? So we'll stick those on. The bonnet's held on by 8/4, like some of them nuts. So 8/4 inch fasteners, if you like. Boot by 4 5/16 cores. I've just had to take these seats out. They're in impeccable condition inside. It almost looks like they've been painted not long ago. But you wouldn't paint them and stick these old covers back on. I'm just sort of feeding them out through the back window aperture because I couldn't clear the garage out today because of the rain. And then we'll clean up in there a bit. The state of the interior sort of gives the car a bit of a heap of crap look. But once these are out and everything's sort of getting cleaned up, it's going to sort of look a lot better, you know what I mean? So I'll take these out. I've got to put them somewhere where they're protected. Easy to get out. There's only a split pin sort of thing holding, you know, each pivot point. Being a coupe, it's sort of, the seats have to fold, and so that's what we got there. I might just rattle can that bit there just to make it look nicer. But you can see why I want, you know, the right fabric and piping for this car. It has to look good. I'm just not into the tuck and roll red and white interior thing. I think it looks sort of great in a marine application, not so much in this car. It's interesting, they actually had stitched piping on the plastic covers and they were sort of clipped in with hog rings, C-clips, at the same time as the fabric, I'd imagine. That's so cool. It's in good nick. And also really good because the trimmer can get the pattern off that and do it really accurately. Right, it's a mess. But look at this. Oh, genuine 1957 seat foam. Just turns to dust. Cool. It's actually feels nice doing it. So I've got to sweep this up. I might just pop a mask on because I don't want to breathe in here. And I'll be back in a moment. This was in the car when I got it. I wouldn't dare use it because it's been open, so God knows what's in there. Transmission cooler. It's actually a pretty good one. It's not as good as a PWR, but it's good. I wouldn't be inclined to use that though because it's not going to fit the car. Red, that lurking behind here, is a rather large set of fins on the converter, so I might just get the little torch and have a bit of a look in there. Oh, I'm puffed. I've been packing the seats from this car into the shed and squeezing them in is probably a better way of putting it. I found something quite interesting. That tag. 175609, then it says LAY 38B. Cool tag. The front seat, well, that's off the sort of the squab of the front seat. The back seat's got one as well, but I didn't see that. It was sort of curled up and I didn't bother digging it out. I don't know what that means. I've looked on the forums, the Forward Look forum. Can't see what it is. So if anyone can enlighten me, please do. I've given the old Plymouth a bit of a clean. I've changed out those fasteners for the original ones. I just had them plated at the same time as a whole lot of other stuff. You can see through there, she's a little bit cleaner. Hang on a minute. Oh, I did this too. That is going to have to come off when we paint the boot, but for now, it lets me close the boot. Or the trunk, depending on where you're from. This is an American car, so I should probably use American terms. Right, so, lots of evidence of the beautiful meadow green that we had before. Was meadow green that was something else on top? It was like a beige colour on top, originally. There you have it. A cleaned out Plymouth. We've got to do a few things. Let me just get in here first. It's a bit echoey. I've got, oh, pardon me. I've got all the grommets for the floor in those where you can see those holes. I'm wondering whether to seam seal along there again, sort of in that lower corner. I don't think that floor's been taken out. There's still a lot of deadener and all this sort of crap on it. Look at that. It's actually quite thick. It's like the moon. But we've got to check these window mechanisms, I should say. There's a bit of meadow green on those fittings there, but they can stay there. Or not. I'm looking at them, but anyway. And of course we've got to do around here on the floor. Fix all that up. Well, I don't think it needs fixing up, but at least get rid of the any of the reminiscent, what do you call it? The leftover brake fluid and that sort of thing. Steering wheel, that's the steering wheel I restored. It's all dirty and dusty. So it's all looking fairly good. Oh, by the way, that steering wheel's painted in the XW Falcons Wimbledon white. That's what I was going to do the roof of this car in because I don't like the stark white. I'm wondering what to do with the floor. I can seam seal. I've got loads of seam seal left. I can just run a bead across there. But I thought about painting it sort of black, you know, instead of all this panel shop sort of yuck stuff all over it. It doesn't look too good in there. Look at that crap. Is that dead nut? Yes, it is. Yeah, that's just that flaky deadener, is it? Big chunk of bottom falls out. No, I think that's all right. Just going to check the window, what do you call it? The winding mechanism. But what I have to do, there's a little bit of surface rust on the turret underneath it. I'll phosphoric acid that off. I've got to figure out how the headlining's held. We've got the holes for the bows, and I'm assuming behind these red fittings there are spikes or something that holds the edge of the headlining in. So it's got to come out again, clean off all that old fiberglass insulation, and I'll put some sort of modern stuff up there. I'll get some of that spray adhesive and do that. But it's a beaut car. You know, there's a bit more meadow green in the corner there. But I'm certainly not sorry about it. I love it. But I think next time we'll get into we'll try and clean up in here a bit and maybe pull that engine. I've just got to check the torsion bars. I haven't messed with them. I think I messed with some torsion bars on a Valiant 35 years ago with John Gibbons Sr. He's the guy I started mechanicking with. I had no idea what I was doing, but he did. And he told me what to do, but I can't remember what it was. But they're sort of anchored in where the transmission cross member is. So if that's the case, maybe I won't pull the engine. Or I'll pull the engine and leave the transmission there. I don't know. Anyway, whatever the case, hope you've enjoyed this. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. I do a lot of convoluted videos, a lot of sort of disjointed stuff because I've got a lot of projects on the table at the same time, and some of that is because I am literally interested in everything. Anything mechanical. It doesn't really matter what it is, or electrical. I love all that sort of stuff, and I always keep myself busy with that sort of stuff. Probably because I've had a stressful time at home to a point, and mainly work. I get very stressed with that. So in order to get around that sort of stuff, I immerse myself in things I enjoy doing and just forget about life for a bit. And what that's done, some of it, is caused some issues with my wife, and we're now at the point where we're separated, and we've just been through a financial separation, a legal financial separation. And it's worth sort of mentioning a few things that go with that. And I've had a lot of friends that have been through messy divorces. Not a lot of friends. I've had some friends that have been through messy divorces, and it's just a nightmare. And one in particular has been fighting his wife through courts for a couple of years, and it's cost tens of thousands of dollars, and the poor bloke is just crushed. You know, he hasn't had that time to rebuild, and that is just the most important thing. Now, my circumstances were, I married Suzanne 24 years ago, and she and I are very different people. She's a country girl, essentially. She spent a lot of time growing up in Wodonga. I've always been sort of in rural suburbs. I grew up in Park Orchards. And I always liked being close to all the amenities that go with suburbia. Although now I'm getting a little bit fed up because there's just too much congestion around here. But we're very different people. And so she had an interest in horses and country life. I have an interest in cars and city life, essentially. And we did a great job together. Now, I was 31 when I met Suzanne, and we started dating pretty much as soon as we met. I'd had a few girlfriends before that. a couple of serious ones, and some just that I was seeing, flings and that sort of thing. There were a few of those. But I was a little bit non-committal back then, and I had a house and I was petrified of losing it, and that was acquired through an inheritance from my father and my aunt in England, and so it kind of made me very careful who I ended up with. And I had a couple of girlfriends who were, one was possessive, and she was quite assertive at times, and I didn't like that. It's not that I don't like assertive women, but in the circumstances I was in, I didn't really want to be told what to do. I'm not a person that tells people what to do. Um, and so when I met Suzanne, we had that sort of agreement. You know, she had her life, I had my life. We're different people, but we didn't base that on telling each other what to do. You know, she was free to do whatever she wanted, and I was as well, as long as it wasn't, you know, running off with different partners and that sort of stuff. I wasn't interested in that, but as far as just day-to-day living, I always thought 50-50 was the way to go. 50-50 responsibilities with the kids, you know, with this, that, and the next thing. I thought it made for, you know, a situation or an environment where not one person wore the pants. It was both people had equal clout in that relationship. And so that's what we sort of based it on. Now, eventually, that worked well. That worked very well. And we respected each other and we got along particularly well. But eventually, I started suffering mental illness, a lot of depression, that sort of stuff. And Susie, she was a drinker and I wasn't so much. And it made for a troublesome sort of environment. Never, it didn't dominate it, but it was always there. And so, you know, it started to fall apart a bit. She had a lot of trouble dealing with me, with my depression. And I was in a job, well, I am still in that job. I'm a secondary teacher. And I wasn't enjoying it for a while there. It's much better now, fortunately. But, you know, at that time it was very rough, and I was bringing problems home with me. And that was difficult for her. So anyway, long story short, I recovered from that. She recovered from the things she was going through, but in the process, we'd grown apart. And so when she said, you know, I'm going to leave, it wasn't really a surprise. You know, I was sad, and she was sad. We both still love each other. To this day, we both still love each other. But you know, it was something that we thought was healthier for us and the children. The children, Rosie at the stage was 18, so the kids were all, well, I guess, legally adults. Just a minute. I need tea. This is proper strong Yorkshire. It's the red label because I couldn't get the gold one. And it's proper nice. Anyway, so she met a chap. Now, this is always trouble, and quite often people will be amicable when they separate. But when another person comes involved, another partner from either sides, either party, that's when trouble starts to brew. And I've seen that a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot. But she picked this chap, and he's wonderful. I said to her, you be nice to him and don't screw him around like you screwed me around. He's a good guy. In fact, she invited him over, and because she's been living with him now for about 12 months, and he comes over and he arrived, and she arranged for some car parts of his. He's a car guy too, to get shipped here, and I put him in her car for when she came and took her car, because she went up there on the train and she didn't have a car up there. Now she works, you know, good hours up there, and she needs her car and this sort of stuff. But at the beginning, she didn't take her car up there, and I was getting it serviced and fixing it up and all this sort of stuff. And I put all this stuff in the boot, and he comes down. And when he came down, her mother and her auntie rolled up, and he's sitting very quiet. He was sitting next to me in the dining room, and I said to him, "You must be feeling pretty uncomfortable." And he's, "Oh yeah." And I said, "Don't worry, that's all good. He's a terrific bloke. I think he's married. I'm not sure. He's from New Zealand. Great guy. You couldn't, if your wife's going to leave you, she might as well leave you for a bloke like that, because he's a good guy." So Then it came time for financial settlement, and we sat down and we both said we don't want lawyers involved, right? I'm thinking of my friend, a fellow called Gary, and poor bastard's been through hell, and as well as another guy called Philip, who I knew when I was a kid, but my mum's still friendly with his mum. His wife absolutely hammered him. She woke up one day and said, "I'm leaving you, I don't love you anymore," and took the burger with the lot, left the poor bloke with nothing. And poor Glenn, he's another one. But, I kept seeing these things and I didn't want that. So I said to her, look, I think it's best if you say what you want, I say what I want. And I said, what do you actually want? And she said, I want half. And I said, fine, let's do half. Turns out, I offered her the Plymouth, actually. I said, look, do you want a car? And she said, no. She didn't actually want them. So we made adjustments and all this sort of stuff. And she actually wanted half the value of the place and, content and all that sort of stuff. So I said, fine, just take whatever you want. Oddly enough, the only thing she wants to take, which I wasn't really great about, was the washing machine, which is worth $400 because it means I've got to go get another one. And I've got the 3 pudbear kids living here. But if she wants the washing machine, you know what? Take the bloody washing machine. It's all good. So now it's all legal. It's all done and settled. And she is hands down my best friend. I've got no hard feelings. I would have been difficult to live with. We're very fortunate that the kids and us are all very close. They're close to their mum. They're close to their dad. Susie and I are still close. We still talk. We split up on the grounds of growing apart. We didn't split up because there was, violence or emotional abuse or physical abuse. That's the same thing, isn't it? Or anything like that. I didn't run off with another chick. Actually, she found another partner. But I had plenty of warning. She gave me plenty of warning about that. So, no 2 cases are the same. But if I was to give anyone advice, having gone through this, it's always stay on good terms. Even if if Susie had rolled up with a guy who I couldn't stand, it's still most important to do what you can to get along with them, because you've got your mental well-being, you've got your kids' mental well-being, and your ex-partners. And you just have to be pragmatic. You can't say, I had this before I met you, therefore it's mine. I didn't have any of that, And really, as far as furnishings and that sort of thing, there was a couple of tables that my sister gave me when I first moved out of home in about 1990, but, that doesn't matter. It's a material thing. So, there's been a lot of up and down with that sort of stuff, and it's caused me to lose focus on some of the YouTube stuff. My views and subscriber counts suffer, but who cares? It doesn't worry me because my life here with my children and my little hobbies are more important than whether someone likes a video or not, because I've always said, and it's bad that I say this, but I don't actually put much effort into the presentation of the videos. I just film what I'm doing at the time. And with that being said, I don't know if there's anything else I can say. Just keep it nice. Don't ever get abusive or, stuff like that. But What do you reckon? Shit. Jesus. Move. Move, cat. Move. Move. Come on. Off you go.